Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how are you doing today?
Good, good. I like the afternoon games. You don't have to be up
Uh,
till midnight or like 1 a.m. to get our work done for the Cult of Hockey after a West Coast game, which is a late night for me.
3 a.m. for me.
Yeah,
Like
I like
I,
getting up early and going to skate in the morning. So,
I've learned to like the afternoon games, and despite the ancient legend, which used to be true in the last century, Oilers are actually pretty darn good in matinee games overall in recent years. So,
Bruce, they
yeah,
were not that good in this game, I'm going to suggest. The grade A shots were actually fairly even, 16-16 all is our preliminary count,
that's
with
pretty
the
even.
subset of 5 alarm shots 7-5 for the Oilers. And a lot of the damage from the Kings was done in overtime. So the Oilers weren't they it was not that bad, but I think there was a few actually kind of telltale and maybe disturbing things in this game. For playoff series to come, which I'm going to get to later.
Yeah.
We'll probably refer to throughout the podcast. But anyway, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast, Bruce. What's your good thing?
I'm going to go with the power play goal that tied the score 2-2 early in the second period. It was a 12-second power play. I think 308 to 320. Yeah. And they won the face-off, and the Oilers had one original thrust, and then there was a battle along the boards on the far side, and it got worked back. I think Hyman worked it back to Bouchard at the point, and the guy coming at Bouchard, and Bouch just slipped a pass past that guy up the wall to Hyman, and he was able to chip it to McDavid in the corner. And the big play here was made by the one guy who didn't touch the puck. To me, was Leon Draisaitl, who, when McDavid got the puck in the corner, he charged sort of the front of the net. So he sort of did double duty. He was the decoy, but he also was the screen. In that McDavid didn't pass it to Draisaitl, but found the guy right behind him, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, who fired through the screen of Draisaitl and of the LA defenseman. I think it was Gavrikov. It was either Anderson or Gavrikov. They were the two that were out there, 44 and 84. And the one was a sort of a flyby screen by Leon. The other was a standing screen by the D-man, and Nuge whipped a perfect shot right inside the post. And I just thought it was like all five guys did their job beautifully. And just like that, bango, it was in the net. And perfect execution.
Fantastic shot placement by Nuge. I don't know if he was aiming for there or not, but it
He
sure
put it
worked
there.
out well because there was lots of bodies flying around there. That was a
Uh-huh.
brilliant screen by Leon,
Yeah.
flyby screen. And I really liked Hyman's board battle on that one. Like he
Mm-hmm.
won a fairly difficult battle, as he often does, because he's so strong
Yep.
and smart on the boards.
Yep.
You're right. It was just and McDavid's pass, so cool, as usual. Those
Picked out the
guys,
right guy, didn't he?
they got alligator blood out there. They are not nervous hockey players. They sometimes they're a little too not nervous. We'll get to that later. But
Yeah.
they were very cool on that play, and it pays off in hockey to be calm with the puck, and that's what they are, and brilliant with
Usually.
the puck. Yeah, Bruce.
Usually.
My good thing was the play of the second line, so-called second line. It was their best line, I thought,
Oh yeah.
quite easily. Draisaitl, Arvidsson, and Podkolzin. It was highlighted by the goal that was scored. Leon Draisaitl forechecking, and there's few players better, if any, in the NHL at knocking pucks out of there on the forecheck. Leon has, as Leo DeBrus mentioned, tremendous reflexes, and he's got also brilliant anticipation. And he's always trying for this play. Like Leon's looking
Mm-hmm.
for the knockdown play, the deflection play to pick off the pass. He got this one. He puts it over to Podkolzin. Very nice one-touch pass to Arvidsson, who moves in and smokes the shot in the net. great for Arvidsson. I know that Warren Fogle he's happy today because he had such a great game against
Mhm.
the Oilers, but Arvidsson also had a really good game.
Against
There
his
was
old
there was
team. He
a
did. Yeah.
there was so at even strength, he was in on 6 grade A shots. Draisaitl was in on 7, Podkolzin in 2. Podkolzin led excuse me, led the team with 4 hits. Um, Arvidsson, I thought, he got just an absolutely wicked shot on Kemper in the first through a screen.
Off the face
And
off.
I think that really hurt Kemper and might have thrown him off because
Yeah.
I think it was soon after that he gave up that horrendous rebound on the
Yeah,
first goal
that was just
against.
that was before the goal, like 2 or 3 minutes before the goal.
I wonder if it might have had a bit of an impact because it was unusual for a goalie in the NHL to let in, but I think it really, really would have
Yep.
made Kemper out of sorts to get hit like that so hard by a shot. Anyway, Arvidsson, I think I think he's played solid two-way hockey all year long. He has been a really solid contributor. He's like Hyman at the start of the year when Hyman was playing almost as well as ever. He just wasn't cashing in. But Arvidsson, I think, if this game is an indication, he can cash in. He does cash in. He is a dangerous player. He should be on the second line. And I think this looks like this is a very interesting second line, Bruce, that could stick
Hmm.
because
Yep.
Podkolzin does so much well.
Hmm.
Um, it will be difficult for Kane to supplant him on this line. And I'm not sure how much. Like I know that Draisaitl likes playing with Podkolzin, who keeps the play alive. I'm not sure if Kane and Draisaitl are that great a fit, but it'll be interesting to see when Kane comes back, where he's going to fit in. But this line looks to me like it could last.
Yeah, well, Podkolzin in this game, he had just one shot on net, but 4 hits, as you pointed out, 2 takeaways, and he won a few battles out there. I mean, some of those reflected in those numbers, and uh, some nice heads up, like a couple of real short passes, like that one to Arvidsson on the goal. Like he could have fired from the slot there, and he had a teammate sort of in better shooting position, probably better body position to shoot, and he had the wherewithal to just make a short pass to that guy, change the shooting angle for the goalie, and let's face it, I think we'd rather have Arvidsson shooting from the slot than Podkolzin if given the choice, and he was given the choice, and he chose his line mate. Good on him. And Arvidsson was just pounding shots. They sent him up for 2 1-timers in the first period that both got blocked, and I thought maybe they go away from it, but Leon kept feeding it to him. And about maybe the next shift after, even later in the same shift that they scored that
Yeah.
goal, Leon teed up Arvidsson for another drive from the right wing, and it was a rocket. And goalie made the save, and it was a good, tough save. But you could see Leon going off the ice, shaking his head, and going, "I like this. I got a winger that can really wire the puck." Which I'm trying to remember when's the last one he had that you'd say that about. I mean, maybe Kane, but I'm not sure.
Kane
That
Kane's
shot.
more of a wrist shooter, off the
Yeah, that
rush.
shot. Yeah, well, Arvidsson seems to have a variety of them, and I thought he generally. I was watching him and Fogel, especially today after I wrote a post about the two of them last night because they were effectively traded for one another on July 1st, right? They
Hmm.
each signed with the other team on similar contract as free agents. After 3 years in Edmonton, Fogel went to LA, and after 3 years in LA, Arvidsson went to Edmonton. Same money, same middle six winger. Anyway, Fogel won the day today, but I'm not going to hold that against Arvidsson. I might hold it against Jeff Jackson, but not Victor Arvidsson, who I thought had a fine game. But good on Warren Fogel. He had a great game.
We'll see how it turns out in the playoffs. I mean, Fogel has been healthier than Arvidsson, and that's the
Yep,
main issue, I think.
230 games, 3 years in Edmonton, 230 games for Fogel. I didn't go into this in my post in terms of games played versus 161 for Arvidsson over the same 3 seasons.
So this is a
Huge difference.
concern. Yeah, this
Huge
is a
difference.
concern.
And the guy got banged up and hurt earlier this year. So that is the main concern with this player. He can play. He's a good player. I like Arvidsson when he's out there. I thought he was strong today. 5
Leon
shots on
also
net.
made a great play. This wasn't with the line, but he made in the power play the Oilers had in the third period. He made great deke at the blue line of a Kings player. And then he set it to McDavid, who set up Hyman
Oh,
for
yeah.
the key save of the game,
10
probably
barrel chance. Yeah.
5 alarm. Yeah, five
Yeah.
alarm shot, and
Lyman got it
Kemper
up
got it.
over his pad, but Kemper
Yeah,
got his glove up and behind his pad and made the glove stop. And that was an outstanding save for sure.
it really was. So Leon was in on that. He did make a mistake later on, but we'll talk about that later on when we get to the overtime and my bad thing. Bruce, what is your bad thing in the game?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to decide if I want to give it to a player or the coach that would not go away from this matchup of Adam Henrique's line against Quentin Byfield's line, which the Oilers lost so badly that in a 4-3 loss, Adam Henrique personally wound up the game with a -4. Like that's hard to do. And I
Oh,
will I will say I'll
why did
start
the
by
coach send him over the boards in overtime? Even
I'll
like,
start with Henrique did contribute a little bit to the first goal with a good cross ice pass, and then he went for a line change. So that's why he didn't get a plus. This was on the sort
there
of the
you go.
gimme bad rebound goal, but he was so credit where due, a little bit of credit for a small play that wound up later winding up in the net because of a bad mistake by the other team, but whatever. But they kept putting out like LA's got this power line of Byfield, Fogel, and Tanner Janot, who's a hard, nasty player on the other wing, and the three of them. I mean, Byfield's like 6'4", 6'5". The other two guys are like 6'2", 200 pounds. Like there's three big guys, strong guys that can skate, they can play the boards, and they just overwhelmed
They did.
Edmonton's third line, and they did it constantly. And Henrique was, uh, how to put it, he was a hood ornament in the defensive slot on the second, third, and fourth goals.
He was
First
Bruce.
goal came from behind the net, and he was kind of covering the point. So you can't really say, you know, somebody else was trying to play the center position and didn't get it done. But Henrique was sort of along the wall. But on the second goal, he was right in the slot, and the puck came across and hit Connor Brown's skate, and it went past Henrique, and then it went into was eventually the shot got chopped on net and it got hit the very end of Nurse's stick and into the corner of the net. It was an ugly goal with about four ugly bounces, but Henrique was there and had a chance to do something and didn't do something. Much worse for me was the 3-3 when they came in on basically a 3-on-3 rush early in the third period, and Henrique's man was Janot, and Janot just skated past him in the slot right to the edge of the crease and tapped in the pass. And Henrique didn't engage. He just let the guy skate right by him and score. And I'm sorry, that isn't good enough for, for anybody, let alone, you're 3C. Like his first job is taking care of business behind his own blue line. And then in overtime, he was out there. I'm not sure how long his shift was, but a very half-hearted, one-handed wave at Quentin Byfield as he cut across the slot, and then no challenge to him as he fired a perfect shot into the top corner to put this game to rest. But on all three of those last three goals, I mean, watch Adam Henrique. He is standing around in the slot doing nothing,
On
and
the
LA scoring.
Yeah,
Like not good enough. And that's what I've noticed about this guy. He's had a lot of good games, but when he has a bad game, he has a real bad game. He had a couple games in a row earlier this season where his expected goals for were like 6%. And this game, the flow of play wasn't quite that bad, but on the critical plays, he was second best by a country mile,
yeah.
especially against Byfield.
I almost gave him a 2. He did have some good offensive. Like he sent Kapanen in on a good rush, the
Hmm.
stretch pass. He was in on the goal.
Three, you gave him a
And
three.
he had his own good shot. I gave him a 3. He had his
Yeah.
own good shot. Late in the third, he went to the net.
Mhm.
But Bruce, that let's see it's the third goal, I guess. the rush by
Chernow.
LA.
Mm-hmm.
Two Oilers, Kapanen and Skinner, got caught up ice. It was essentially a 5-on-3. So it wasn't easy for Henrique, Nurse, and Stetcher on that play because there was all these late coming players, and it was a mess because the two forward, like, especially Kapanen, he should have been more aware of there's a player deep. Skinner was deep, and sometimes you want that deep player, right? Because Nurse looked like he was going to win that puck battle, but Kapanen had to be more aware. But Henrique, he just totally misread the play. He was what I call caught in the red light zone. You're not covering anyone.
Yeah.
You're not covering a passing lane. You're not blocking the shot.
What are you
Sir, you
doing?
are in the red light zone, and you are in trouble in the NHL.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's where he
And he
was. He
was in
was
trouble.
he was by far the most. Nurse might have stepped up and tried to block the outside shot. It's a tough play for him, but Henrique just was.
Let his guy go.
And on the power play in the third, Kempe deked around him. It was foreshadowing of the winning goal.
Mm-hmm.
Kempe just went right around Henrique and got a wicked shot on
Was this
Skinner.
before or after Henry couldn't clear the zone, made a weak clearance? Anyway, it was
That
not
was
his.
that was
It
just
was not his
that
day.
was just after, and
Just
then
say that.
in overtime. So my bad thing is the overtime, but it doesn't. It ends with Henrique again caught flat-footed. You got to be on the tips of your toes, like bearing down defensively, one-on-one. So intense. Like it's not easy to cover Quinton Byfield in open
Apparently not.
ice in overtime. I understand that it is a hard play, but you just can't be a signpost waving at him as he goes by. But Bruce, this overtime went haywire much earlier than that.
Yep.
Nurse, excuse me, Bouchard, Draisaitl, and McDavid had been out on the ice for a minute already.
Mm-hmm.
And Bouchard, he should have probably just retreated behind the net. He has full possession of the puck. He should have retreated to get a line change. But he
Yeah.
decides to try to rush it out, and he loses the puck. Um, and the Oilers are on their heels pretty much the entire time after that because they can't.
Pretty much. Never got
They
the
get
puck back,
stuck.
really.
They get stuck out there. I think they did at one point, maybe the Ekholm line, Ekholm,
They dumped
RNH,
it
and
out, maybe, but they
Hyman.
never.
But anyway, it starts with Bouchard giving up the puck to on the forecheck. He's a little casual with the puck. And again, these guys are so confident with the puck. They're cool with the puck, and he was every bit that, but maybe a little too cool. But the play really starts to go south when LA takes the puck out towards their own blue line. Looks to me like McDavid has a chance to get off the ice, but he doesn't. And he's wandering he wanders way out of the play, giving LA a 3-on-2 against two tired players. So Connor McDavid easily could have cost the Oilers the game in that moment. Then they go around Leon Draisaitl like he's not there because he's tired and he's really not there. And they take the puck in, and Kempe just lashes a wicked shot at Skinner. Skinner manages to get the first one. I think the second one went in off Bouchard and almost went in the net. And then the third the third shot in that sequence, and the final two were both 5 alarm shots. The deflection off Bouchard. There was a shot in tight that Skinner managed to get. So Skinner saved the day on that one, essentially, as the team's three best players got caught on the ice too long and made some pretty serious mistakes in overtime. As will happen. But they've had lots of great moments too. But that sequence was not one of them. Then they finally start switching these players out, and another line gets out there. Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, and Ekholm. And they have their struggles too. Nugent Hopkins is out there 2 minutes and is completely bushed and unable to make the play on the winning goal, like to try to deny the blue line or get up there.
Yeah.
Ekholm gets off and Nurse does get on, and Hyman does get off and Henrique gets on. I think it's too bad McDavid was so bushed, but I still think McDavid should have come over the boards, not Henrique
Yeah.
in that moment. And I think that's on the coach as well. He's Henrique is not a 3-on-3 hockey player in the NHL. You know, you
Not
who
fast enough.
who could they? They could have put out Kapanen. They could have put out Pod Colton. At least these guys are fast enough. Kapanen would have actually been a fairly decent choice, or Janmark. Like if you want to have a defensive player, put Matthias Janmark out there,
in
who I think
overtime.
has the second fastest skating time in the NHL this year. Anyway, they put out Adam Henrique, and they did, all three of them give up the blue line. Nurses trying to get back in the play, and Henrique just gets. We've already detailed this. He gets beat in the slot, and they score. It was a horrendous overtime, Bruce, and
Yeah,
it was
right from
five to
that
one for grade A shots.
6-1 in shots. The Oilers have given up 6 shots all year in their previous 9 overtimes, and they gave up 6 shots today in the last 2 minutes of overtime, 2.5 minutes of overtime, and it was uh, from that moment where Bouchard decided he would take the shortcut up the middle, but he didn't make a decisive move with the puck against Vogel, and the puck battle started. From there until the end, I didn't think there was one moment where Edmonton was back in control of the situation. They got three individual line changes where one guy desperately went off to the far bench while they tried to contain LA on the rest of the ice, 2 versus 3. Ekholm was the last guy to make such a change like that, and Nurse came out, but he wasn't able to do anything. And there was just no situation where Edmonton had possession, they circle back, make a change, get the fresh bodies on, nothing like that. They never had the puck, and
Not good.
Robbie Brown on the Chad post game show, he singled in on that exact same turnover by Bouchard and said, you just gotta you have to value possession of the puck in overtime. It is so important. And free turnovers, they can quickly be death, or today they can slowly be death. It was about 2.5 minutes after that turnover that they finally scored. And of course, in that time, Stu Skinner took a shot to the helmet. His strap broke. The puck went out of the zone. They show a replay of him talking to the referee saying, "My strap is broken." And the referee saying, "I'm going to live down to my name, rank, and not call it." And then after the game, they talked to Knobloch, and he said, the same thing happened in the third period where Kemper had a strap broken, and they stopped to play when Edmonton had a strong pressure on because of a broken strap, but they wouldn't give Stu the same respect. And he seemed to be a little hot about it, and I don't blame him, because that
The
kind
puck
of
did
thing needs to
leave.
be fair.
There was a
Well, they
moment.
could have whistled it down in the neutral zone
Yeah.
because the guy had busted equipment, the goalie. There's
Yeah.
rules. Call the friggin' rules. Anyway, I'm not saying that was the game. I'm just saying it was a contributing factor.
Henrique, 12:57 played in -4.
No shots on net.
Wowza. He did have some good plays though, as I pointed out. So
Couple,
that's
yeah.
why he didn't. That's why he got a 3
Yeah,
and
it
not
was
a 2.
2 or 3. I was been right in that range. He was either a 3 bordering on 2, which you gave him, or he was a 2 bordering on 3, which I might have given him. And I don't know. Anyway,
Bruce,
the
what is
weak play
your?
on the game winner, man, that would
Yeah,
be
that
the last
was
straw.
tempted to change it to a 2. What is your? It's still not too late. I always figure I have to the end of the Cult of Hockey podcast
Oh,
to
okay.
change my grades. So sometimes
Sometimes
I
I
do.
talk you into marking someone
Sometimes, yeah.
down
Well,
one
that
or up one.
that it's not just that it was the Kempe play, which was the same.
Yeah.
Like could easily have scored there, and again he got beat. In the slot.
Yeah.
The other mistakes that he made on the goals. Well, there's 2 though that were really horrendous. So yeah, like that's pretty bad. All right, Bruce. What is your number?
Yeah, my number is 0, and that is the number of shot attempts by Connor McDavid in this game. Played 23 minutes and 27 seconds to lead the forwards. And in that time, he didn't even try and shoot the puck on the net, not even once. He did make some passes. There were some plays, but I don't think he was close to on top of his game in terms of attacking, like that's his main game. And there was 1 or 2 times he could have shot and he decided to pass off, and that's McDavid. And sometimes you say, shoot, oh, nice pass, because they scored, and there was none of that. But I just thought he was not very aggressive towards the net. And that shows up, that's screaming off of an event summary with 0 shot attempts in a, entire game where he's a top forward on the club. And my son wondered if he was maybe sick today because he didn't seem to have a whole lot of lot of edge to his game. I do know that Gavrikov took him out real hard in the first shift or second shift of the first period. McDavid passed off the puck. He was up against Gavrikov. He passed off the puck before he reached the goal line. And then it was one steamboat, two steamboats, wham! Gavrikov finished him high and hard against the end glass, and the rest of us thought, well, that's just hard physical hockey when we're in LA and the Kings are doing it. But to me, after you pass the puck, you're not allowed to be hit anymore. There's one steamboat maybe, but that was anyway. Whether that had any impact or what, but I thought McDavid will come back hard and he'll nail Gavrikov later in the game, but that never happened. He had one hit, and that was the only thing on his event summary. No shots, shots that were blocked, no missed shots, no giveaways, no takeaways, no block shots. Saw it off on the face-off dot and one hit, and that was his whole statistical, personal stats. Yeah. And on the other side, yeah, he did have that beautiful pass on the power play, and credit for that.
And he set up Hyman on that great. So I gave him a 5.
No,
he had so he was plus
not,
1 at even
not
strength.
Great, not terrible, but certainly not difference making.
For grade A shots, he was plus 1 and minus 3. 2 of those minuses, or 3 of the minuses coming in. I think all 3 in overtime, actually. So, not his best game for sure. And I wonder how much. I don't know. If some of the players probably travel a lot at Christmas, and some of them, I know some of them stayed in Edmonton because we saw those nice photos of those guys, Ekholm and Draisaitl, on the rink in Edmonton, right? So some of them stayed home in Edmonton, but some of them might have been on the road and much more tired, maybe coming back from the break, depending on how much travel they did.
Of course, these guys got engaged. He might have been tired. He scored the first goal, though, so good on him for marking the occasion in a positive style.
Might well have been tired, and we will leave it at that. Bruce, my number is 25-13. This is hits in the game, and it plays into the Gavrikov hit. I haven't gotten the sense, maybe earlier in the year, I was worried that the Oilers weren't going to be physical enough to win the Stanley Cup this year, because being a physical team is a big part of it. Not always. There's some teams that are non-physical and win the Cup. We've seen Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh, not big hitting teams that have won the Cup. And if the Oilers win the Cup, they'll do it in the style of those teams with tremendous skill. But ferocious physical play can take out a team in the playoffs. LA has been an absolutely brutal opponent for the Oilers the last 3 years because they take such a physical toll on Edmonton. And I just hope the Oilers don't play the Kings for that reason. And again, I saw it again today with the Kings. This is a big, really tough hockey team. And the Gavrikov hit personifies it. I mean, he's an outstanding defensive defenseman. And one of the reasons that McDavid wouldn't have had that many shots, they've got Joel Edmondson, a big Bobby Clobber of a player, Tanner Jeannot. Anze Kopitar is just a great big body Philip Deneau is big enough and hustles like hell. Mikey Anderson is one of the nastiest, dirtiest, and most effective defensive players in the NHL.
McDavid did get him.
Yeah, he did. I like that. The sneaky, the dirty elbow on the dirty player.
Yeah, I could have called that.
Quentin Byfield's big, huge guy and fast. So this is a tough team. Yeah. And Edmonton is going to have to change its lineup, Bruce, I think. They're going to have to change the makeup of the fourth line. They're going to have to get, I think, at least 1 and maybe 2 more physical players on the fourth line. Of course, they're going to get Evander Kane back, who will make a huge difference in the toughness department. But they're also going to need, and I think, I'm a Troy Stetcher fan, and I'm a Ty Emberson fan, but neither of those guys is huge. And they are going to need, whether they need a second pairing D-man or not, they need one more defenseman on the third pairing. a big left shot defenseman who can help kill penalties and move the puck. They need it because I think Stetcher is a great seventh D man that you insert in the playoffs. Jolt of energy, a guy you can trust, but in a rugged series against a big tough team, he was exposed on the first goal. For instance, he lost the board battle.
Absolutely.
He lost the board battle in the offensive zone, and then he
In the
lost.
neutral zone, in
He
the
lost.
defensive zone.
Yeah, the guy works and he's a good hockey player and he's
Oh,
smart as hell. He can skate, but he was just on the shot itself. He was just a little bit short, reaching for the puck, and might have got by. Might have had stick on puck if he was a bigger player. So he overcomes, but I just and I think Emberson is big and tough enough. Like he could be okay on the third pairing of the playoffs, but he needs to be paired with somebody else. So that'll be interesting to see. Like there was talk about speculation about David Savard, who I don't think would cost much in terms of a trade. Maybe it'll be someone like that from Montreal. Excuse me.
I think his left shot might be
Savard is a left shot,
the
I believe.
answer if they want Kulak and Nurse to play together. Then
Yeah,
they need a lefty to play with Stetcher
that's
or
correct.
Emerson. My choice would be Emerson. Stetcher being on his wrong side on that play had a significant amount to do with it because he was trying to control a bouncing puck along the boards
Yeah, that's
in the
hard.
offensive zone. He just never could seem to make contact with the darn thing as it bounced through the neutral zone. Anyway, he's a game rooster. Like there's no shortage of Stetcher given everything he's got, but he's just fairly marginal. And when you have him up against big, strong, skilled players like that whole line for LA, he was a bit overmatched in that sequence.
Yeah, so the heavy hockey of the Kings just made me wonder, like, how is this
Mhm.
gonna? Is this an issue? But fortunately, there is time to rectify it, and you can bring in a few players who make a big difference. And of course, Evander Kane is a game changer in this regard. Like he's
He's a
transformative in
series
terms.
changer against the
Yeah,
Kings 3 years in a row. He had a big impact in that series. And I was going to say they need to engage Special Agent 91 when it comes to taking on the Kings. Hopefully, at least by the playoffs, he'll be ready to go. We're going to be waiting a long time before we see him. It could well be it's a season-long injury, and they'll have to figure that out before the trade deadline as to when it's a reasonable chance he'll come back. Any time before the end of the season. And if they say no, well, there's their cap space.
it could open up a lot of opportunity for the Oilers if it's looking like he's not ready till
Follow
mid
the
March or
Vegas
late
model.
March. Why would you rush it then? Then it's a kind of a no brainer in terms of how you proceed at the trade deadline. Bruce, so they play tomorrow.
Tomorrow afternoon, right back at it in Anaheim. So technically, back to back with travel, but I would suggest the travel is minimal. No air travel. I mean, I guess a highway drive in California is non-zero in terms of time, but that shouldn't be a factor. And they've played some of the rust off today, but they'll need to be they'll just need to be sharper tomorrow. I didn't think they were really short on effort today. The game was pretty good, really. Like it was even and
Yeah,
could have gone either way. Uh, they kind of lost the plot uh, early in the third and then in the overtime, and that was the ball game. But at least they got a point.
they got a point.
Losing in overtime beats the crap out of losing in regulation, and that's a fact.
Indeed. Bruce, thanks for talking.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.